So with the many faces of polite, I thought it was just interesting how we choose to communicate. So for me, low context, that's concise, that's clear, that's direct.
Yeah.
I think it's more beneficial for everyone in every situation to operate. If you're giving negative feedback, give it in the direct way. But then there was it France? Not France. I think it's like America, where they'll give negative feedback but warp it behind positive upgraders. And how you can get confused by that. And I
if
think
you're not from that culture.
If you're not from that culture. And I think how confusing and damaging that could be for people, because just personally, I think things are just better if it's just straightforward, instead of coddling and putting it in these things so that the person feels better, or so that you feel better as a person, instead of telling someone, oh, you did it, and so forth and so forth.
Do you think, just a question on your heritage, do you think your heritage has maybe influenced that?
I think so, probably. My mum's Jamaican.
Yeah.
My mum's Jamaican, so it's very, there's no beating around, there's no reason to beat around the bush.
She calls it, so there's like direct cultures and indirect cultures. I can't remember the list of where, she does a lot of scales in the, you got the scale,
go for it. Right here. Well, obviously, on the left-hand side, where direct negative feedback are countries like Russia, Germany, the Netherlands, Denmark, France, Norway, Italy, and in the middle we've got the US, Canada, UK, Argentina. Going more to the right side now with indirect negative feedback is Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, India, China, Kenya, Ghana, Korea, Saudi Arabia, Japan, Thailand, and Indonesia.
And I think what else I really like is the idea of cultural relativity. Like everything is in relation to the other. So like what one person might be like, oh yeah, America's very indirect, and then someone else will be like, well, they're not as bad as so and so. Everything is in relation to one another and in comparison to each other. So yeah, I think that was very interesting, especially when you see the many stories of like people's difficulties. Thinking like, yeah, I'm doing so well, when the person's like, they're not doing well at all. That kind of, it's perception. It's perception at the end of the day, and it's also what you're used to. So yeah, that was definitely one of my favourite chapters.
There was a great story about a Dutch colleagues communicating in terms of feedback, direct feedback. And there was a Dutch colleague who had an issue with one of his American colleagues who was having, one of his American colleagues who was having an issue with another meeting that they were having, where that colleague was dropping their kids to the school and they could hear the kids in the background. And that Dutch colleague was speaking to his leadership team, was like, how do I deal with this? I said it to her and, she got really upset with it. Like, how do I deal with it? And his other Dutch colleague in that meeting, there were different cultures, his other Dutch colleague said something to him like, well, Martin, you are inflexible and socially ill at ease. And he continued to give him harsh feedback, and the other colleagues were like, oh wow, this is a bit harsh. And then later on, Erin, the author, was there. Yeah, later on, Erin saw those two colleagues laughing and joking together, and she was confused, like, how can they be so friendly after he just ripped into him and I would have
been confused as well. I'd have been offended. I don't talk to me again.
And the guy, Willem, who took the feedback, he said, of course, I didn't like the feedback, but I appreciated it. He's like, feedback like that is a gift. Thanks, Martin, for that. Martin was the guy who gave him the feedback. Yeah, thanks, Martin. So he thanked him for that harsh feedback because it was a reality check. But obviously in British culture, we would probably say, look, maybe you could have approached that situation a bit differently.
Possibly, potentially kind of trying to give agency to the person, trying not to tell them what to do.
I agree. I feel like when I give feedback to someone, I tend to be on the more central side. I'm going to give you the honest feedback that you need, but also at the same time, I feel like I want to sugarcoat it a little bit because I don't want to break your heart. Exactly. I don't want to break that person's heart and make them quit entirely what they're doing. But also at the same time, I don't know if it's in this chapter or another chapter, talking about telling people things behind closed doors and not in front of the group. I think that situation seemed worse to me when I read it because it's in front of the whole group. I think if it was just an individual conversation, like I'd come and tell you something personally, if it's just us two, I wouldn't say it in front of all our friends because I don't want you to feel a type of way and feel like I'm coming for you in front of everybody. But I suppose that's even a cultural thing that we do. Some people will just say anything in front of anyone because in their culture it doesn't matter.